If you're thinking about changing schools, why wait? At Manhattan University, love those guys. You don't have to start over. With transfer-friendly pathways, your credits count, and you keep moving forward. From day one, you're part of Jasper Nation, preparing for the real world. And with New York City just a train away, opportunity is everywhere. Ready to move forward without missing a step? Visit manhattan.edu/transfer and enroll today. Manhattan University. Don't start over. Move forward.
Excuse me! Taxi! What are you doing?
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Well, you guys joining us to talk about a whole bunch of stuff is Professor Alan Dershowitz, the great constitutional law expert. And Professor Dershowitz, you probably saw as we were talking about government reopening, the Democrats are saying, here's the standard if we want to have full funding for DHS and all the programs under Department of Homeland Security. It includes judicial warrants, they say. They want a demasking of ICE agents. Walk us through just how crazy those demands are.
Well, let me start with something I heard just 2 minutes ago on your show. Somebody said that the mayor or the governor won't allow ICE agents to go to Rikers. I mean, that is so clearly illegal. You know, the Posse Comitatus Act specifically provides that you can't obstruct the administration of justice. You may not have to cooperate with it, but any idea that you prevent law enforcement, federal law enforcement officials from going to Rikers and arresting people who are there, who have federal charges against them or are subject to a deportation is so clearly unconstitutional that I hope somebody will bring a lawsuit, because even with some of the federal judges in New York who have been so anti-Trump, that can't possibly win. That is a no-brainer. And so that has to be done immediately. Rikers has to be open to ICE agents to go in and perform their duty and arrest them. You can't stop them from doing it.
The fallback position is that what they're going to do is not allow them to have an office on the premises.
Well, even so, I mean, if a federal official says, I want an office, and goes into federal court and says we needed to enforce the law, I suspect a decent federal judge would say, you have to give them whatever facilities are necessary to law enforcement. So, I mean, you know, we do have the Supremacy Clause. We fought for that. That's the difference between the Articles of Confederacy and the United States Constitution. The Articles of Confederacy didn't have a Supremacy Clause. It left things to the states. And Madison and Hamilton didn't agree on too many things, but they agreed you can't have that and have a real country. So they adopted the Constitution with the Supremacy Clause, which puts the federal government over the state governments when there's a conflict in their laws. And that's what's going on now. So that has to be resolved in favor of the federal government, or else, I mean, the Constitution falls apart. My God, we have the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, and we're going back to the Civil War or to the segregated South in 1954. When Governor Wallace said, you know, state law governs, prevails, we're not going to let the feds come in and enforce desegregation. That can't be allowed in New York.
Judge Weinberg.
Alan, how close are we, when we observe what's going on in Minneapolis, to having these organized protests? And they're not First Amendment protesters, because they are obstructing. How close are we to a violation of the Insurrection Act?
Well, you know, it's a matter of degree. We've never had a Supreme Court decision defined for us with exact precision when the Insurrection Act could be imposed. I mean, we did it not so long ago, obviously, and it's possible. It should be a last resort, and you know, one hopes that perhaps the federal government can enforce the law and protect Americans without having to invoke the Insurrection Act.
Didn't they do it in the L.A. riots a number of years ago?
They did. That's what I'm saying. And it was upheld and it was sustained. And those were riots. Those were not protests. And I think some of what we're seeing in Minneapolis are riots, not protests. And the line between incitement, which is not protected by the First Amendment, and mere advocacy, which is protected, is not always easy. But in this case, it's pretty easy because you see people going and engaging in violent activities against federal law enforcement officials or breaking into the church. You know, there are two First Amendment rights there. There's the First Amendment right of the people in the church to have a decent and peaceful church service, just like the people who go to my synagogue Park,
Park East.
and Park East, and their efforts to disrupt them as well. That can't be tolerated in a democratic society. So I'm hoping that the federal government will assert its legitimate power to enforce federal law over the objection of the states. We established that principle in the 1954, even before that, when Eisenhower sent in troops, and then when Kennedy sent in troops, and then when Johnson enforced the law. And I think we have to do it again.
Professor Dershowitz, you brought up the church protests. I just saw today that Pam Bondi is saying that Don Lemon, of course, who was famously in the church, the former CNN host, and there's a report out there that he may have blocked the door, that a couple people couldn't leave. And if that happens, that actually really, I think that certainly is not a good thing for him, for his position that he was just a journalist. How does that change the thing?
Well, first of all, the best thing that ever happened to Don Lemon's career is this arrest. He's now a hero. He was at the award ceremonies. He gets applause. His career was in the tank, and suddenly he's the hero of the left. So he won't be such a hero, however, if he gets convicted. As I've said right from the beginning, it all depends on the facts. If they can show that he actually obstructed somebody from leaving, that is a direct violation, both of the FACE law and of some other statutes as well. So he has a very good lawyer, Abby Lowell, and his lawyer will do a great job, and let judges and juries decide this. The problem, of course, is it's going to be a Minneapolis jury. And whether or not the government can get a fair trial, the federal government in Minneapolis, remains to be seen.
So the blocking of the door, that's certainly, if that's true, and if people can come forward or they have video, that's certainly, and I agree with you, Abby Lowell's a great attorney. I've known Abby for decades. But that is certainly something that goes very strongly towards the case.
Rita, the people in that church were scared stiff.
Yeah, and the kids,
because the kids were scared stiff because they didn't know if those people were terrorists with guns and they're going to start shooting.
And they were shouting vile things, too. Very vile things.
So what Don Lemon did is horrible. And even in an unfair trial, he's guilty.
If he did it. No, but let me switch sides for a minute and tell you what I'm upset about. If it's true that the federal government changed the picture of this protester, who I have no support for, but a black woman who was in the protest and was arrested, and there's an allegation that they artificially changed the picture to make her look more menacing than she actually looked and to make her skin darker. I hope that didn't happen, because I very much worry that AI and other kinds of things can make
If somebody did that, they should go to jail.
Well, they should at least be fired. I don't think anybody should be allowed to make those kinds of
What about the flip thing, Professor Dershowitz? Because William Kelly, who was sort of the organizer of that protest, that was the crazy guy who was shouting these horrible things. The media put out pictures of him looking like he was Tom Cruise, and he was far from it.
I agree with you. And then we have that idiot woman who was at the award ceremony the other night saying that you can't illegally come to this country because it's stolen property.
Oh, yeah, Billie Eilish, the singer. Yes,
Billie
yeah.
Irish.
And then she went back to her multi-million-dollar home on stolen property, which she has no intent to give back to Native Americans or to immigrant Americans. The hypocrisy. I mean, the stupidity of Americans who listen to any of these singers and listen to anything they have to say other than their songs. You want to sing your songs? Fine. But don't start talking about politics. You're a jerk. You're an ignoramus. You don't know what you're talking about. Stolen land. She comes from England. England stole New Zealand. England stole Canada. England stole Australia. You start looking back in history, and, even South Africa was stolen by northern tribes who came down to occupy southern parts of Africa. So, history changes, but the idea that you can't enforce the law because the United States has stolen land, only an ignoramus like her.
Professor Dershowitz.
People clapped.
Professor Dershowitz, we agree 100%. We have to go to Washington right now. We have the
House Majority
Whip.
Yep.
And tell us about Washington. Listen in, Professor, okay?
We love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
If you're thinking about changing schools, why wait? At Manhattan University, love those guys. You don't have to start over. With transfer-friendly pathways, your credits count, and you keep moving forward. From day one, you're part of Jasper Nation, preparing for the real world. And with New York City just a train away, opportunity is everywhere. Ready to move forward without missing a step? Visit manhattan.edu/transfer and enroll today. Manhattan University. Don't start over, move forward.